Hey everybody, it's Bust with week 2 of the Champions Draft Series. This week we'll be doing battle against the Empire's Gladiators, headlined, coached, played, performed by SirTurmund. And so, if you're not familiar with the Champions Draft Series, feel free to scroll backwards in the channel. We've explained the season and the draft and the deck building and everything across the past couple of videos. I'm not going to touch on that anymore. Our team is up on the screen. No changes, no trades, no drops, no pickups. This is our kind of our crew for for the next few weeks, if you will. And so, to kind of recap, last week we played against Jay Sensational. We put together a lineup intent on trying to beat up on Yasuo Katarina. In that part, we failed, right? We had what I thought to be a good lineup against Yasuo Katarina. We were playing Caitlyn Trundle Timelines. We were playing Lulu Jinx Elusives, which got banned, and we were playing Tristana Poppy Champion Strength. And we did manage to lose to the Yasuo deck, although we intended on trying to pick on that. We did manage to beat his Janna deck 2-0 and take down the match. But this week, a fresh opponent in SirTurmund. You have his team up on the screen, headlined by Aphelios, loads of Targon champions in here. And I initially didn't really get what SirTurmund was getting at here, especially as the draft phase was going on. As he took Aphelios first, that's fine, we get that. He took Diana second as a Nightfall champion. I can't imagine he's ever looking to come out and play Nightfall. And then with Ezreal third, I couldn't quite gather how all of those champions work together. As the things moved on, he picked up Twisted Fate, which was, I think, the value pick of the draft. I think he got Twisted Fate around pick 35 or pick 40 or so. That was amazing that he made it that far. And then he finished things off with Vhagar and Maokai in the Shadow Isle space, Evelynn Kayle, and then the final pick in Vladimir. And so I hadn't given too much thought into what he was looking to pull off with this. Last week he played against Majin Bay and fielded a triple Cosmic Call lineup. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. You did the same thing we did. We drafted a bunch of champions centered on building concurrent timelines decks, and so we really went after all the P and Z champs. SirTurmund came out with the idea to draft triple Cosmic Call lineups, and that's what he brought last week against Majin Bay. Did not manage to secure victory, but he brought, I believe, Aphelios Maokai, I believe it was Diana Ezreal, and then Twisted Fate Kayle. Some of those might have gotten switched around. Maybe it was Twisted Fate Diana that he actually brought, but nonetheless, at the end of the day, the lineups were probably 35 cards the same all across the decks. The champions changed, and then one or two cards switched up across the board. And so, with that in mind, I feel like we have a couple of big things to kind of try and deduce. Now, as you go out to battle against Majin Bay, you know that he's going to be bringing like 3 Ionian control decks. And so that makes a lot of sense. The triple Cosmic Call lineup is something he's going to take there. But I typically, wouldn't touch Ionia with a 10-foot pole, and I tend to be out in a much more aggressive space. And so I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out in the sense that the concurrent timelines decks all get murdered by Cosmic Call, so that gives him a lot of incentive to play the Cosmic Calls. And then we have a lot of decks in our lineup that just don't play well against it. The Cosmic Call decks are very good at putting a bunch of units on the board and just blocking all day. They tend to have a lot of heal as well, and so the P and Z based removal spells don't really do a whole lot of work. And so looking at things like our Jinx based decks trying to do a lot of damage with blowbacks and get exciteds and super mega death rockets, they're just not nearly as effective against the Cosmic Calls as they're able to heal so much damage and have a bunch of cosmic younglings out and about. And so I feel like he is given quite a bit of incentive to just bring another Cosmic Call lineup to the party. That's what I'm going to assume is going to happen. I do think there are some additional decks that he could look to bring. Like if you see Twisted Fate Vladimir, that could turn into Pirates, not the Misfortune version since she wouldn't exist here, but Twisted Fate Vladimir Pirates could end up being a thing. I could see Twisted Fate Maokai Sea Monsters being a thing. He does have 2 Shadow Isles champions, and so that does get him in the space to start bringing certain like Vile Feast based decks out to combat a lot of the go wide style of stuff that we like to play. One of the decks that does concern me a little bit would be something like Evelynn Kayle, and just the space of having a Siren Song Zolani deck to a degree, but also having the 1 mana divine Targon lifesteal guy and things like Nahari, just the big lifesteal dude deck. Like those kind of things could give us some problems, but I think at the end of the day, while we may see one of these decks emerge, I don't think that he's going to completely get away from Cosmic Call. And so the way I'm kind of looking at this lineup is if he brings 3 copies of Cosmic Call, great. That's what we're going to be trying to actually attack, right? We kind of expect him to bring it. He could be in that similar space to where he's like, well, if Bust brings some Poppy deck and he brings some Concurrent Timelines deck, I can beat those with Cosmic Call. Whatever his third deck is, I can just ban and I'll be in pretty good space. And so like I can definitely see him bringing 2 to 3 Cosmic Call decks, and that's what we're going to try and focus on. And so ideally, he's going to bring all 3. We'll be able to just ban out Aphelios. Aphelios is going to be the prime target that I would like to remove from these decks, and then we just get to battle against the 2 weaker Cosmic Call decks. That does leave us open to some space to where he can bring in a particularly scary third deck. We might have to consider not banning Aphelios to get rid of that third deck, but I'm like 80% confident that we're going to run into a lineup that has 3 Cosmic Calls in it, and I'm probably like 90% confident that we're going to run into a lineup that has 2 Cosmic Call decks in it. And so that's what I'm looking to build around today, and we can bring up those deck lists now. And so with the Cosmic Call decks, you have to kind of attack them in very specific ways. Number one, you can't be very like mid-rangey. If you're playing these mid-rangey decks, they're going to completely annihilate you. And so that really kind of cuts our Concurrent Timelines decks completely out of the mix, as you are just a little bit too slow. As you have a Concurrent Timelines draw, you're playing like a 3-drop, a 4-drop, a 5-drop. You're playing everything on curve. They can just block your biggest unit, take a couple of points of damage, and it really just plays into the tide of the strategy they're trying to do. And then they have the strongest late game in the game, and so you just can't outdo them that way. The other way is just a lot of really small ground-based units do not function well against that deck. If you want to think of a deck like Pirates that's looking to attack with Legion Saboteurs and Mirai Wardens and just flood the board with a bunch of small units, those decks tend to be really ineffective against Cosmic Call. They just get blocked by the 1/4 Stellacorn. They have to make trades with things like Spacey Sketcher, and it just doesn't turn out that well. And so the 2 main components that I'm looking for in terms of attacking the Cosmic Call decks, number one is you have the elusive Overwhelm or Rally, right? We harp on this idea over and over and over and over again on our main channel. The way that you have to attack these wall of unit style of decks is elusive, Overwhelm, or Rally. And so that's the way Cosmic Call decks function. That's the way decks like Nora function. They just put a bunch of units on the board and try to block all day, and you'll make your attack. You'll attack down their wall of units, but you don't have anything to make a secondary attack, right? So none of your damage was actually relevant. And so we're going to be looking to overwhelm, elusive, or rally. And then the other thing I would like to kind of include, if we can, is having access to 4 attack units. Just letting the opponent come in and like block a 2/2 with a Stellacorn, and then it heals back to full by the time you get to your next attack. It's just a load of nonsense that it just gives them so much time. And so we're really looking for ways to get our units up to 4 attack. 3 is like acceptable, right? You attack it down to 1, it heals the next turn, it heals the next turn, then it only has 3 health for your next attack. But ideally, ways to get 4 power attackers to try and take that thing down. So the other thing I kind of wanted to say about the Cosmic Call decks before we really dive into the lists, as you can see the Poppy deck on the screen, is the decks do a lot of staring back and forth. The Cosmic Call decks are not capable of doing a lot of interaction. The way that they typically interact is going to be things like Hush or Targonian Telskone's generating Hush, and so it's not a way to actually stop a unit, but just shrink its stats or something. They tend to play a bunch of Sunbursts, and so they'll have like one really slow way to deal with your best unit, and then they might play some kind of stuns. Across SirTurmund's deck, he played 2 copies of Celestial Stun, whatever the 2 mana or the 5 mana stun 2 unit thing is called. And so that's it. They don't have particularly interactive units. It's just a wall of units with minimal interaction. They're just trying to manage their health total until the game ends. And so if we're going to just be staring back and forth at each other, I'm going to do more powerful things than you're doing, especially as we're in that unit-based space. This is the place where Poppy can really pop off. Like, I would have loved to have had Taric for this match so that we could bring Poppy Taric. Poppy Taric has to be like an 80% win rate against Cosmic Call, especially the versions that don't just have all of the removals that they need, like jumping into P and Z and picking up Mystic Shots and stuff. And so I really like what a lot of this deck does, and so we're kind of making a bit of a throwback to the Poppy Bard or the Poppy Jarvan decks of old, to where we're doing a little bit of board control in the early game. So we have a handful of challengers with Penitent Squire and Petricite Broadwing. Those units can hopefully attack down something and not die. And then as the game progresses, we get to build up more and more board since our units are winning combats and not trading. And then we can use Poppy and Vanguard Bannerman and Inspired Light and Cytherea to just boost the entirety of our board all at once. And so what we're really looking to do with this deck is be a kind of rally-based Poppy deck in the sense that if the opponent's not going to be able to kill Poppy, right, if they only have one card in their deck that's actually capable of killing Poppy, we should be able to attack with her over and over and over and over again, and the number of stats that she's producing is going to get us up to that 4 attack state to where the opposing units can't block successfully. And so that's the kind of main core idea with this deck. We do come out and start to take some ideas from, say, the Scouts decks of current to where we're playing the Scrutinizing Sergeants. I do like the idea of Cytherea in here, as she does help attack through that wall of opposing units by giving all of our units fearsome. I think this is a kind of textbook way to come in and attack a non-interactive Cosmic Call deck. And so this is a kind of, predominantly Demacia-based deck. We are playing the 3 copies of Caitlyn and then no more P and Z. And so the idea with this is we want to maximize the usage of Vanguard Bannerman, and that's going to be taken care of by having just the absolute minimum off factions within the deck. And so we are looking to use Caitlyn. Since she is smaller than Poppy and she's on curve with Poppy, she can still fit into these curves nicely to where we play Caitlyn on 3 and then Vanguard Bannerman on turn 4. Up next, we have Jax Trundle. This is our Warden of the Tribes deck, and so I was quite excited to come in and bring this one out. We haven't got to play any Warden of the Tribes over the course of the past month, but harping on that same idea that we just said with the previous state, to where you need to be able to elusive, overwhelm, or rally, we just have an absolute ton of overwhelms within this deck, and then we can now, is it a classic now, right? It's been 3 weeks since the Warden of the Tribes nerf. We can call it a classic now. Warden of the Tribes idea to where he can come in and give all of your overwhelms on board +5/+5. And so we have this nice collection of overwhelming units with the Frostcoat Cub, the Mighty Poro, the Glacial Saurian, the Iceveil Cultist, and the Warden or the Ancient Yeti. Warden of the Tribes itself also getting those bonuses. And we're looking to just do that Warden of the Tribes strategy that was so popular a month ago. But we do need to kind of pair off Trundle with another champion. I chose to go with Jax. I feel like Jax should be pretty safe in these matchups, given that, the Cosmic Call decks don't play a ton of removal. And so even if we aren't like actively flipping Jax, he should be able to come down on turn 2 and still make pretty relevant attacks. But he does still have the potential to flip with the Innovative Blacksmith and the Combat Cooks in here, counting as weaponsmiths for the Warden of the Tribes, but then also giving us some equipment along the way. Otherwise, we're just the subtypes deck trying to get up to the Warden of the Tribes as powerfully and as fastly as we can. And then the way we have to kind of fastly get up to Warden of the Tribes is we have a handful of ramp spells in here. So we are playing 3 copies of Wild Mysticism, 2 copies of Winter's Touch. This will help us get the Warden of the Tribes down on turn 8, maybe even on turn 7, so that we can get those big attacks in before the opposing Cosmic Calls come online. Last but not least, we said we never play Ionia, and look what we're doing today. Mage and Bay, eat your heart out. This is what an Ionian deck is supposed to look like. And so, again, as far as these decks go running into Cosmic Call, I don't want to be playing a bunch of burn spells, right? We really need to be able to attack the opponent for like 15, 16 damage all in one attack. And so as we look at these kind of typical Jinx cards like Blowback and Mystic Shot and Get Excited, they tend to just be completely ineffective against the Cosmic Call decks. And so I wanted to kind of push away from that and go back into that same stance and in that same state to where we're like, okay, well, if you're not going to interact with me, then I'm just going to do way more powerful bullshit faster than you are. And so we get to attack that through a couple of angles. The Green Glade Duo is a unit that does not see much love in the current standard formats. I don't think she has really seen much play since Azir Irelia was big. Maybe the kind of like Poppy Zed deck counts for Green Glade Duo, but she is a very healthy attacker, often hitting for 4 or 5 attack. And then we do have loads of ways to just throw down a bunch of units within a singular turn. And so we can play multiples of things like Acorn and Daring Poros. So if we say have 3 1-cost units in our hand, very easy to also apply those stats to the Green Glade Duo. But the more kind of on theme and on track things that we're typically doing here is we do have access to Lulu with the Boom Baboons. And so the Flame Chompers package here I do expect to be quite good. Again, if the opponent wants to play a Hush on a Flame Chompers, I mean, fine, you can take the unit down there all you want. But I really like this idea of having the Lulu package still to where she can make some 4-power elusives or 4-power Flame Chompers to help come in and control the board. And then the big kind of things I think that we need to call out with this deck are going to be the inclusion of Ballistic Bots. These do give us a kind of consistent damage source that we can just send damage to the opposing face turn after turn after turn. They give us a discard source, so if we have Rummages hanging out in hand or if we need to play a Blowback, we have some generated cards that we can discard to this. But one of the kind of neat and fun things with this is the Ballistic Bot does get bonus stats as we play the Daring Poros off of the Poro Cannon, and so this is a deck to where you can pretty realistically get like a 5 or a 6-power Ballistic Bot on board and then attack through with it unblocked since we have access to all of these Flame Chompers. And so he has a lot of actual attack potential within this deck because the Flame Chompers do so much work in terms of clearing the way. If he's unable to attack, we do have access to a singular copy of Ghost to spread out elusive on 1 unit for the turn. Whether or not this needs to be played as a protective spell while we attack with Lulu or something more aggressive by boosting up a Jinx or boosting up a Ballistic Bot's very scenario specific, but the Ghost is kind of neat and cool. The Windfarer Hatchling, though, is the big thing that has really drawn me to this deck. As we looked at the previous Elusives deck we were playing, we had the Sneezy Biggledust within there, and I'm just looking for just a little bit more raw power. And so the Windfarer Hatchling did get upgraded in a recent patch. It was initially a 5/4, got reduced down to a 4/3 in that Azir Irelia era, and now it's kicked back up to a 5/4. But this gives us a fantastic way to help us generate those turns to where we deal 15, 16 damage in a turn by giving all of our other units +2/+2. Very happy to have the Windfarer Hatchling back on the team. And I think the last card worth calling out is Twin Disciplines. It is back to doing the +3 on the attack and the +3 on the defense. This is a very nice card in the sense that if you're trying to come out and be aggressive, the 3 damage for 2 mana is a pretty good deal. But then having it also be defensive to protect a Lulu, protect a Jinx, protect a Green Glade Duo, whatever we need, the Twin Disciplines does give quite a bit of flexibility. Okay, so we have SirTurmund's lineup pulled up. We're going to be seeing Evelynn, Maokai, Ezreal, Twisted Fate, and then Diana, Aphelios, Vhagar. And this is kind of a real dick move, you know? God knows we like to come out here and play some of the aggro decks, and then he just brings a big collection of removal piles. Who would do such a thing? That's messed up, isn't it? And so we do have one kind of Cosmic Call list out here within the Diana, Aphelios, Vhagar. I did have the intent to come in and just ban out Aphelios, but I feel like this is the one that we're going to have to hope we can come in and beat. And so as we take a look at this lineup, the thing that really kind of sticks out to me is he does have a lot of ways to really answer our Elusives deck. And so looking across this, I feel pretty fine with the Warden of the Tribes deck against any of this. It does suck that they have a lot of removal, but it doesn't have the big removal like the Ruination kind of cards. That same thing holds true across all of these decks. Same kind of thing applies with Poppy. We aren't like super well set up to deal with a lot of these things, but when I look at these things and like these decks and have cards like Vile Feast running around, like that's my major concern as I look at decks like this. And so, to a degree, I think some of these things are okay, at least in comparison to my kind of initial reaction, in the sense that we are tuned to deal, 16, 18 damage within a single turn. And so seeing a bunch of like drains come out of this Evelyn deck makes me feel a little bit less scared. But I'm ultimately concerned about the status of our elusives deck. What I fully expect to have happen here is that he's going to ban out probably the Poppy deck, but either, I would say I'm like 75% certain he's going to ban out the Poppy deck, 25% certain he's going to ban out the Warden of the Tribes deck, because the most exploitable one is our elusives deck. And so the way I'm kind of approaching this matchup from this point forward is we need to pick which of these decks is going to be the worst one for our elusives deck to run up against, and then take that one out of the mix. And so we talked about Cosmic Call extensively. I feel okayish about running against the Aphelios deck. It does have some cards in here that suck. He's moved the Fangs into this version he's playing. He has the full 3 copies of Cosmic Youngling, the full 3 copies of Aphelios. Like, I get it. That's completely fine. But this is the one to where, our lineup is kind of set up to face. And so even having the removal spells in here like Soul Harvest, I kind of feel like our elusives can still kind of handle this. And the strategy that we're looking to partake in does have the chance to win this match. But looking over at these other ones, the deck that I was going to initially be worried about was if he was bringing like 3 Cosmic Call lists, as if he comes at us with the Cosmic Call Twisted Fate, given that seeing things like Twisted Fate and even Make It Rain give him a lot of ways to deal 1 damage pings to our elusives, and I knew that this was going to be tough. And so I was kind of thinking there might be one deck that really punishes us for playing elusives, and the Twisted Fate deck was going to be it. But it was just kind of like, how hard is he really going to come at us? And I like what he's doing here. I've been curious how Twisted Fate was going to make his appearance in the Lands of Eternal, given that his card draw tie-in with the Cloudwinders and the Mariners and his Sunken Temple. This deck's got to be nasty. I can certainly see this be something in the upcoming meta, and something that's going to need to be on your eternal radar as the days come forward. And so very well-tooled deck here. This is the one. I guess the kind of second thing with this is I was also curious if he was going to separate Ezreal out like he did against Mage and Bay, and that was going to just be like an elusive blocker. And so this is the deck I'm most certainly going to be taking out of the mix. It just lines up so super well against our elusives deck. It has to just be like at least an 80% favorite against what we're doing. And so this is very well tooled for what we're bringing. And so that brings us back to the Evelyn Maokai deck, and I guess it's kind of okay. I ultimately do worry about something like Warden of the Tribes going up against this, to where we're trying to play a 9-cost unit to win the game with, and he can very easily just Watery Grave and Maokai and kill us before we're able to get to that point. But we do have the kind of ramp spells to get there. But the thing that I kind of wanted to circle back to Evelyn Maokai with is, while I am kind of concerned for our elusives deck, I think it can be okay here. Right? As we look over at the Ezreal Twisted Fate deck, if we want to imagine some kind of game to where we have a standard draw, or a draw that we're looking for, right? Where we play Acorn, we discard a Boom Baboon, or we discard a Flame Chompers in some way, then we get our Lulu going. Then the turn after that, maybe we play a 1-drop, a 1-drop, a 1-drop, a 1-drop, right? Those just get completely annihilated by this stuff he has with like Make It Rain and Twisted Fates and everything. But if we kind of think of that same idea rolling back here against the Evelyn deck, to where if we play an Acorn on turn 1, a Boom Baboon on turn 2, on turn 3 we play a Lulu and then discard a Flame Chompers to something like this, the removal that he's packing here doesn't line up against that quite as well. And so I think it is kind of nice and kind of important to note that we did pivot away from that very heavy kind of burn package, that burn idea of trying to take down your opponent with blowbacks and get excited and mystic shots, and moved in to this Windfare hatchling kind of thing. because I think it has much more play against this. He does not want to be coming out here, seeing us play a Poro Cannon, getting those 2 Poros on the board, and then being like, okay, Hate Spike and Undergrowth, right? That's a very slow and a very expensive way to be dealing with our units, and then we can still crash in for 16, 18 points of damage if we need to. And so I'm feeling a little bit better seeing this one pop up. I still don't feel like our decks align against this very well, but again, I feel like we're going to have to play elusives, and they can have the best shot up against this deck. And so interesting stuff. Well pieced together lineup. Again, the one that we're going to hopefully be able to take down is the Diana Aphelios Cosmic Call style of deck. We again did try to really set up our lineup to be good against these. If you weren't, familiar with the kind of wall of units strategy coming at this, you don't want to be playing a 1-mana 2/1 on the first turn and then trading it with Spacey Sketcher, and then you go into the next turn and play a Boom Baboon, and it has to face down a Cosmic Youngling. Like, those just aren't the kind of draws that you can handle. You just get completely annihilated by this deck. But if you want to think of our draw as being a turn 1 Acorn, the turn 2 we get the Boom Baboon on the board, turn 3 we play Lulu. He doesn't have a ton of removal. Like, yes, the Soul Harvests are a part of the deck now, and that can take the Lulu down. But looking at that kind of same curve, we would just get to hook the Cosmic Youngling off of the board. The Spacey Sketcher would not be big enough to block and kill a Lulu. And then our Acorn can still kind of crash in unimpeded. And so this is the kind of curve and idea that we're looking to kind of take out against this Cosmic Call deck. And hopefully that comes forth. And so, interesting lineup, very strong, very well done, trying to get the shutdowns onto us. But we could come in and pay the pay-to-win price. And I was going to say, I don't think we need to do it. Everything in these decks is all premium except for a handful of epics. We've got like an augmented Clockling and another small unit out here we haven't turned premium, but I think we need it now. Like, this is harsh. This is going to be a serious uphill battle. So I'm going to pay to win a little bit. I'm going to turn that augmented Clockling premium. And now we're ready. Let's go ahead and jump into battle. All right, here we go. Challenge accepted. We got the elusives. We got the overwhelms. We got the rallies. The key to beating the Cosmic Call all in one lineup. Let's see what we can do. So who do y'all think he's going to ban? Is it going to be Poppy or is it going to be Warden of the Tribes? I'm leaning towards it's going to be Poppy, but we'll take a see. We'll take a peek. We'll see what the strategy brings forth. All right, where's our ban? Where's that Twisted Fate? Get that shit out of here. Fastest ban 2023. Don't want anything to do with that. Now let's see. I'm curious. This Jinx Lulu, she's gonna be here partying. The Ionian's ready to attack, but bringing Vhagar in just for the Soul Harvest. Man, we brought the Caitlyn in just for the nothings, and so I had to double check with the rules that we were able to play Caitlyn with no other P and Z cards. It's legitimate. It's something you're allowed to do, and so got that out of the way there. But I think as we kind of continue on here, I'm still pretty happy with not bringing Cosmic Call against SirTurmund here. It just strikes me as a deck that would just get completely annihilated by essentially everything he has in his lineup, and so some definite pain points that we would have had if we brought that kind of thing. But I'm going to lead off with our Warden of the Tribes deck. I think this is our deck that has the most potential against everything here. If we have to play one of these decks twice, I'm pretty sure I'd prefer to be playing the Warden of the Tribes deck opposed to the other one. Let me check this real quick. Hate Spikes, Soul Feasts, Vile Feasts, Undergrowth, all that kind of early removal. I think we're okay to kind of like hang on to Wild Mysticism here. I'm kind of thinking if we want to do double ramp, right? Just to get like a kind of very, I think we might actually here, just to get a very like, if we're curving 2 to 3 to 4, it kind of plays a lot into the removal that he's bringing at us. But I think if we get these down in this fashion to where we're banking up the mana a little bit before the removal spells come in, and then we get to drop the big boys down. I think that's going to give us a touch of an edge here. So I'm going to play Omen Hawk. I'm going to go ahead and just... Do we want to block the SirTurmund? I was kind of thinking in my head that we can just, like, get the Wild Mysticism able to attack next turn. I think this is fine. Like, he doesn't have a Sea Scarab here. And so getting that damage down does let us combat with the Wild Mysticism unit. And it also gets a... Or, well, I guess it doesn't get his unit off the board before a Sea Scarab comes down. But I'd like to kind of clear the board as much as we can before he gets those free toss options. Sure. And there's the Warden, there's the big boy. We're gonna have to find some units to get on the board, but but he'll be ready to go before you know it.
See what's beneath while I see what's inside.
All right, so Evelyn comes in. We can't come in and block her. Our units are all too small. But what's our turn going to look like next turn? Like, I feel like we probably have to come in and open attack. You can still do this thing with Evelyn to where you hate spike off the husk and she gets the flip in the middle of combat. Is that accurate? Right? When I see you or an ally kill an allied husk, so you can kill the husk in the middle of combat to get her to flip. But otherwise, we should be safe. So I think we're going to be building up to an open attack here. I'm going to go with the Fix'em 5000. I'd like to be able to... we have to build up our survivable units, right, to get the Warden of the Tribes, giving that bonus to as many units as possible. Alright, so the Cook comes in. Here comes the open attack directly into SirTurmund.
Come and get it. Tough day, friend.
Alright, now we can re-ramp. I'm considering if we want to play Jax here. Now that he's added Maokai, I don't think we do. I'm not really amped about Jax just getting hooked in by that sapling. And so, I guess on the flip side, instead of playing Jax, we could just look to play an Iceveil Cultist. Because as it rolls around, man, when we come into our next attack token, we have to Winter's Touch, right? When we come back to our next attack token, we want to play the Warden of the Tribes. And so if we want to get all of these units down, how do we sequence this out? I think we're looking to just play the Cultist here. He's not going to have Overwhelm, though. Well, I guess the other thing is the Combat Cook won't have Overwhelm, but he's a little bit easier to remove. Okay. Gonna go Cultist.
That was hot.
Give them room to spread their leaves.
Picked up a Challenger Husk as well. I don't think he has any units we have to super worry about in terms of the Challenger Husk rolling through. Is Deadbloom Wanderer big enough to cause problems? He's only going to be a 3 power, so he would need a Vile Feast. Evelyn gets the Challenger, though. So do we have to... Well, shit, she has Spell Shield as well. So there's not a whole lot we can actually do about that. Can we ever just pass here? Like, what are the chances that he just doesn't attack? I mean, it seems like it's just going to be playing into his game plan if he gets the chance to pass here. Let's add in the Saurion. I guess, like, the thing we should get in our heads is we don't technically have to play Warden of the Tribes next turn. We can wait a couple of turns before we do that. I think we're going to have a bit of time before he's able to come in and kill us. Okay. The other kind of thing we can look at is like, what if we just get a a second Warden to the Tribes later? it's not completely off the table that could be a thing. All right, our board's probably a little bit too small now to go for the Warden, but we can look to go for him 2 turns from now.
Where's your lively better half, love?
Maokai's getting kind of close to flipping. He's up to 17. He needs 8 more tosses or dead units. Have to worry about that a little bit in the sense that if he does Watery Grave us, we just die. Like, we can beat a flipped Maokai. We can't beat a Maokai plus Watery Grave. So we definitely don't need to be getting the lethal this turn, but we do have to try and set it up for the next one. If we're going to add Warden of the Tribes next turn and then try and just open attack, we need to just get down a bunch of Overwhelm units this turn. So I'm leaning towards, say, like Wild Mysticism. The kind of bummer here is the Combat Cook plus the Jax is only 9. And so we're going to be short, so we can't really get Jax going until the next turn. This is all just a bummer. All just a bummer. It's a Dead Bloom Wanderer, that's okay. I mean, we can still combat this board pretty effectively. All of our attacks are strong, and he has no Watery Graves left in his deck. So that's a thing that we don't have to worry about anymore. He's tossed all 3 copies of Watery Grave, so this Maokai OTK isn't going to be a thing. That was a very pivotal thing to really take note of, because we have a real shot to kind of take this game over now. So now I think that, now that we kind of know how defensive we can be, I think we want to just take the Combat Cook. We'll pick up the Overwhelm here, that's fine. We don't really need to get an attack in at this point. I don't want to lose any of our units. And then we can look to build up to the Warden of the Tribes. Right, knowing the way that his deck is set up, we don't have to worry about Ruinations. We don't have to worry about any of the big AoE board clears. That's good stuff. I guess you do have to worry about just kind of dying in combat here, though. I guess that it could potentially be a thing at some point in time. So what you got? Doing the combat dance with a hate spike. Might as well fight through it, right? This is one of our more powerful units for the next turn. We can still play all of our cards. I would like for Jax to be able to survive the turn, but if Jax doesn't make it into the next combat, it's not the end of the world. Withering Mist, and an Undergrowth. Okay. I think we're in good shape, fam.
Got more scars than years, and got a lot of years.
That's
Here comes the big boy.
And so, life springs anew.
Every competitive player's favorite card, Warden of the Tribes, rolling in. It says, enjoy the stats, my team. Enjoy them well. Enjoy them good. How big is this Jax going to be? We'll do a little to big attack. I'm not certain how much it's going to matter. slam it. He's got those lifesteal units out there. There's, I don't know, somebody could figure out a better block if you want to, but I think this is going to be enough. And whew! Sometimes RNGesus is on your side, you know? Sometimes you get the goods coming in, you see all of those watery graves get tossed, and you say, sucks to be Maokai. Sucks to be Maokai. And so that's good. That's pivotal. We got a game win with the deck that we needed to get the game win with, and so now we get 2 shots with this pile that I suspect is going to really it's going to really struggle. And so a reasonable enough start. We can get rid of this blowback. We can probably hang on to the Jinx. I feel like she should be strong here. There's not a ton of removal opponent has that can actually come in and kill a Jinx. You can hate Spike her if she's not flipped, and then otherwise not a lot of great removal in there. And so let's hang on to her and try to build into that. Not looking to start off super aggressive here. I suspect a lot of these early units are just going to come down and die. And so I would like to be able to play Ballistic Bot and then start getting a little bit of value out of it next turn. And he played the unit first, so we'll have a brief window to maybe discard that ignition, pick up something free. I'm curious with things like Gringolet Duo here. It just dies to everything. And would we want to just go for the Gringolet Duo, or do we want to sit around and just try and send a bunch of ignitions to the face? Because our attacks here with like Zonite Urchin aren't going to be particularly strong. It dies to everything. But I think if we had say like an Elusives deck that's playing Twin Disciplines and playing Wuju style and playing Nopify and playing Deny and just having a bunch of ways to come in and protect the Gringolet Duos, fine, you know, let's let it hang out. But in this space, it just dies to everything, so let's just go ahead and run it out. See if we can't spike in a few points of damage. Because I have pretty low expectations for what she's going to be doing here. Witness perfection, meatbags. But these ballistic bots are going to have a chance to get scary. We haven't seen a culling strike come in on them, so they can potentially make some magic happen that way. Gonna keep sending these ignitions to the face. We're actually getting pretty decent combats here. Now, can we ever get like a Lulu Poro Cannon going? I don't think so. Let's do this. Let's start off with an ignition and see what he does. We can, you know, get our ballistic bots to be bigger than these sea scarabs, which is a big deal. And then if he comes in and starts playing removal spells, we have a bit of an opportunity to dive in here, right? And so,
Don't worry, it's not my first
curious
time.
to see how that was going to go. So my thing here is we should be in a spot to where we get to attack with these ballistic bots. Let's do this. Let's add Lulu. It's like I don't want to just waste the ignition, but I think we can get everything we need to get out of discarding the ignition to the Poro Cannon and then just playing a single Poro, replacing the Zonite Urchin. But I was hoping he was gonna come in and kill off some of our own units for us so that we would get an opportunity to not override anything.
See what's beneath while I see what's inside.
Alright, well, the ballistic bots lost their opportunity, but, you know, got a 6 elusive attack here if he doesn't have any more cheap removals. Get nice and built up to a potential Windfarer Hatchling attack. Maybe we'll pick up a ghost, you know? Get the ghost onto a ballistic bot, do some scary stuff that way. Uh-oh, god damn it. Fucking Evelyn's. One of my favorite moments over this this past week leading up to the Open was playing Evelyn Galio and then hitting an elusive for Galio. And I was so happy with how that was going to go. And now it's rearing back. It's coming and bringing a little bit of nastiness to us.
These isles will be cleansed.
All right, so he's got an elusive Maokai. Don't think he gets the unit off of that though, right? The sapling. I wasn't watching these tosses this game either, so hopefully nothing nothing too scary comes through there.
Rise, Bandle brethren.
Harder. Okay.
What are these sea scarabs at? 4 away. Okay.
That was hot.
2 away from deep, and so I'm trying to figure out how bad it's going to be for these ballistic bots and if we're going to be able to attack with them. We only get +2/+2 off of the Windfarer hatchling, and so the ballistic bots don't get to survive through that. But maybe you pick up a ghost, you know. Now here is the, well, oh man, I was gonna be like, this is a very interesting spot in terms of being able to Poro cannon a bunch of units on the board, but that's not quite on the table. We just have to come in with the hatchling at this point. Got 9 elusive on board, some more ballistic bots, a Jinx plus a get excited plus a thing for next turn. This is a pretty powerful space to be in. Is it time to get excited, fam? Are you feeling good about this? Hope so. Hope you're feeling good. He's digging to the depths of his brain, figuring out where the big plays can be. A preemptive drain. I wonder if this would indicate that we're gonna see a that we're gonna see like an undergrowth roll through. Be gone, thief. So, let's see. Do we want to go ahead and spike in this Twin Disciplines damage? I don't think so. I don't think so. Where does it, like, we end up losing out on an ignition if we do that since he blocked our acorn. But let's see. So this is like 3 more damage. Would take him to 4. We can still ignition for 1. Maybe we do. It does help us clear out our hand next turn for Jinx as well. All right, Sea Scarab comes in, ready to block that guy. Maokai gets the flip. Whew. Hope we got enough damage. Hope we got enough damage. I guess the next fresh question is next turn it's can we play an Ignition now, right? Because next turn we're gonna have, what is this, 9 mana? 4 goes to Jinx, 3 goes to Get Excited. That's 7. I worry that we're gonna like draw a card that we aren't able to get excited away. Alright, we'll let him go. Oh, he's got the undergrowth? Fuck. Damn. I thought we were gonna have the chance to get there. Thought we were gonna have it. So close. I wonder if there was an angle to where we would have gotten Jinx on board and then used Jinx to play the Get Excited so that we would have cards in our deck. F. Out of cards. I don't know. I don't think you can never like not go for the Windfarer Hatchling there, but that's tough. Alright, Jinx and Co. Up against Aphelios. See if we can't turn this one around. Alright, we did pick up a Lulu Flame Chomper's hand. It is a pretty reasonable start. We can just hang on to everything here if we want. Lead off with Acorn on turn 1, take the bank on 2, on turn 3 play Lulu and go for the Flame Chompers. I think I'm okay with that. Again, like, he doesn't have a ton of removal capable of taking her off the board. He is playing Soul Harvest, but that's his only early game answer to this Lulu. I think we can hang on to a hand like this. And it does give us a lot of options on the future turns in terms of just trying to go for the pure damage with Lulu or controlling the board. There's a very real chance we would rather just go for the pure damage. So our Rummage only costs 1, so we can be free to add this other Acorn. Gonna be a Diana. Yeah. Bummer.
Yours is a light I cherish, Moon Sister.
Alright, this is gonna be a big make or break moment. This is gonna be big time right here. We're counting on you, Lulu. What do you got for us? Are you gonna survive? You gonna make it into the combats? Oof. Oof. Frightening stuff. Alright, so he leads out with the Spacey Sketcher. He can come at us with a Pale Cascade and use that as a way to get the Lulu off of the board. It's just kind of whatever to me. I think if he has the Pale Cascade for the trade, it's fine. We don't have a ton of ways around it. But I do want to take the Diana off the board. Having her come in and challenge away our elusives is problematic. This is just going to be an Aphelios turn, right? Pretty certain. So how do we feel about that? I think we just pass here. We have to take Aphelios off the board as soon as he hits. And then I think we need to get rid of Ballistic Bot in this space. It doesn't do a ton. Well, it does a ton in terms of having like the ignitions coming into hand, but we're empty-handed at this point, so I think it's okay to just send away. I would assume he's gonna pick up the Calibrum, the damage thing, and then do the damage to the Flame Chompers. That's my guess. Guess successful. Alright, but we got the board cleared. We can still get the kind of +3 damage out of Lulu for the turn. Let's see what pops up. Another Flame Chompers. The Flame Chompers would be fun, but it doesn't do anything at this point. We're just kind of in burn mode now. So let's pick up on the Green Glade duo. I could see an argument for sending the duo away and then just trying to pick up a Jinx or something. We need to get one of our finishers at this point. We need a Jinx or we need a Windfare or Hatchling to try and close this out. That's not Green Glade duo, right? So gotta worry a little bit in that space. But should be sending an 8-piece nugget to the face this round. If we get to take him to 7, those singular cards do get pretty close to taking down a win. Now the Fangs comes in. Yeesh. Alright. He's going to get to negate some of the damage onto Lulu. Oh, he doesn't take the lifesteal right away. Interesting. I was going to say, you got to start worrying about things like Hush, if that's what happens. To where you say Hush is an acorn and then blocks, and we don't get the lifesteal unit off of the board. Let's pass it. No reason to play units on this turn. I was going to say, we need to be stacking this damage next turn for our Green Glade duo. And then the Equinox was a nice shutdown there. A bit of a bummer. We still have lethal on board if we pick up a Windfare or Hatchling, so I don't think we need to add these things. Not good, fam. Not good. Well, we can still get all of our units into combat here. Come in, hopefully force some blocks on the likes of the Duskbringer and the guy on the Charger. Gives us more time. Combat squad. Says neg 10 into 10, so the game's just done, right? I'm pretty certain that's the way it works. Alright, we take him to 4. He's got to be over there squeezing cheeks, right? He's got to be squeezing them tight, squeezing them hard. Clenching, getting that glute workout, you know. It's easy for us. We just got to sit around and try and draw burn spells, but he's got to try to find the win at some point. Boom Baboon, not quite it. The Destroyer, that's gonna do it. GG. Whew. Close set of games. Close set of games. Tough set of battles. Whew. That was I'm happy enough with how that went. Staring down this lineup with the Maokai Evelynn and the Diana Aphelios, I feel like he definitely had a pretty strong target on our backs in terms of what he was presenting to us. And we had some very capable starts there. Taking the wins down with the Warden of the Tribes felt pretty good. And then also we were very, very, very close in both games with that Lulu deck. And so I don't think the Lulu deck was like completely shut out of the water, right? As we kind of looked at those spaces in those last games, we definitely had right on the edge of taking either of those down. And so it just takes a very small misstep to kind of turn things around. If the opponent hadn't hit elusives on the Evelynn husks and we'd been able to get in that 3 damage with our unit at the end game, those are the things that these can kind of come down to. And so, good stuff though. Well played by SirTurmund. Good set of battles. Perhaps we'll face him again as the top cut arises, but nonetheless, that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.